break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never. So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't here to make.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Opinion of the Uninformed. We will of course be talking about The Last of Us TV show on the HBO Max TV channel at the moment, and later on we'll be discussing streaming services. So to get into it, I assume that my esteemed colleagues, both TJ and Rich, have watched this week's episode. I should probably do introductions because I haven't done them yet. So hello, I am Firefly Zero, otherwise known as Jay. I am joined today, of course, as always, by the proper TJ.
Hello.
And, of course, LiveConvoy, otherwise known as Rich.
What? How you doing?
Cool. So, as I said, as I earlier pointed out, we will be talking, of course, about episode 4 of The Last of Us. What was the episode name? I did read it earlier, and now, of course, when I need it, it's gone. It's completely gone out of my mind.
Like long...
Fastest cake in the world. It's gone.
Yes, it's gone. And it's gone. Right, so this week's episode was called Please Hold to My Hand. So, right, guys, I thought, just quickly, my thoughts on it, it was the closest that I felt to the action in the game. You saw a lot more shooty, bang, bang, dealing with scavengers, and was it Fedra?
Fedra.
It was Fedra that they were dealing with, and so I felt like, you got to see him actually creep around cabinets like we did in the game for 20 hours. And like you actually saw them actually working together. Ellie had some really, really great moments, I thought, in the car as well. Absolutely superb moments in the car. Gay porno mag springs to mind.
Yeah,
which at least was,
what about
so and then did you say that there was I think there was a new character added, was that right? I saw some kind of moaning online, as I consistently do, about anything that seems slightly good. Someone's got something bad to say about it, because we can't all just enjoy things. So I throw it to which one of you wants to take it?
Rich?
Yeah, it was definitely, in terms of like that whole thing from when they got to the city in the car. That was extraordinary, because it just was the game, the injured guy, and then the shootout and stuff like that. Weirdly, I feel it was probably the weakest episode of the show so far. Now, I'm not saying it's bad, because it wasn't. It was still absolutely brilliant television. But I think, like, the first episode, you had the, oh man, what the fuck's this going to be like? Oh man, this is pretty good. Second episode was like, what's the dynamic going to be like? Holy shit, pretty good. And then you had that knock out the park of the third episode, and I feel this was almost like a step back. Not that, again, that's a bad thing, because you do sort of need that. I really liked the extra stuff. I liked being able to see the the Fedra people, because it's a sort of key theme, I think, in both of the Last of Us storylines, is that while you're the hero in your own story, you're more than likely the chief villain in somebody else's. And I like being able to see that aspect from the Fedra agents in the city. As far as they're concerned, they're doing the right things, and Joel and Ellie represent this danger to them. That's like, it's like the whole Walking Dead syndrome, isn't it? It's the people that are a problem, not the zombies.
That's it, exactly. What would you say that this week's theme was? I know we normally give everything sort of a term of the week. Did we get one this week?
Well, I have to say as well, I think the single best moment, though, was like the last couple of minutes. The telling the joke and him cracking up with the laughter and stuff like that. Just like, it was just such a pivotal moment in the growth of their relationship, and it melted my heart a little bit, Mum.
I'd say carry on.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I feel this episode was very much more about there's the frostiness. There's always between, like, we know what happens to Joel, we know his backstory, we know what happened with Sarah, and how he is when we first meet Ellie and everything, and he's very standoffish, he's guard. He doesn't want anything to do with her, essentially. He doesn't want to be a babysitter, he doesn't want to remember back to a time back then, and I kind of feel that this is the first time where throughout the episode you kind of start seeing like him soften. As I said, and
100%,
he
yeah.
starts getting like there's a scene. So they're in the woods together, and they're going to sleep and that, and she gets off to sleep, and he's asleep, but he can't sleep, and there's a bit where it focuses in. He's staring at something, and then you see it focuses on his gun, and then the very next scene it flashes to is Ellie's kind of stirring in her bed a little bit. Camera pans out, his bed's empty, and he's standing in the woods. Got like
Yeah, yeah.
he's taking on that like. I am
Protects
protecting
her.
this girl at all costs, and you kind of feel like he's softening towards her, and their relationship is starting to develop into something very pivotal and very key.
When he apologized to her, you know,
Yeah.
it was just like that just felt like a huge step in terms of their relationship, and
Yeah.
so in terms of that, yeah, it was a phenomenal episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't help but feel like. But then I was saying to somebody the other day that I don't think you can't consistently have like 10 out of 10 episodes. You need a
No.
bit of a reset
Yeah.
in between that. I feel that this was a good one.
I think that we spoke the other week, a couple of weeks back, possibly on True Talk with TJ. We were saying, well, at least I remember, I definitely said that we need an episode where you see growth between those two.
Yeah.
And like last week's was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a 10 out of 10 episode. Episode
For different
3.
reasons.
Yeah. Whereas this one, you needed to say, like, you needed to start understanding, like, because of where the story's going to go, no spoilers, why certain people are going to make certain choices. And, like, if you don't have that, like, you know, just one-on-one growth, a trust being built between the two of them, it would feel empty towards the end. So I understand that, like, you have to change things to be able to, you know, sometimes it has to be a boring bit of a shooty bang-bang episode with not a lot of story, but like a lot of growth between two, let's just say it, incredible actors. So I thought it was good for that. I you know, not that I disagree with Rich, it was a very, very good episode. Possibly, you know, definitely maybe one of the weaker ones. But I do think that like it was an important episode, pivotal episode.
I think the thing it's all well and good. Like, yeah, you're right. You can have these episodes. You need these episodes, but I feel it's how this episode sets up the next part of the story, which I think it has done very, very well. Because, like you say, there is a new character who isn't from the games. Her name is Kathleen, played by Melanie Linsky from like 2.5 Men and other things.
Look at TJ being all informed and shit.
Mate, Google is my friend. No, so and like she's a new character, and straight away she's like, she's quite a strange one because I feel that like her mannerisms and then her actions are two very different things.
She seems nuts
because
like she has real cold, like not even calculated. It's just like the hamsters on PCP on the wheel and just spinning and spinning and spinning, and who knows what's going to come off.
When she's in like interrogating, if you will, I believe he was a doctor, wasn't he? In the container and everything and that, and she's talking to him about where's Henry, where's Sam, and then she goes out and they're like, "Oh, we found these people dead." And that, I know we're skipping ahead of a part of Joel, what happened with Joel and Ellie, but and then she's like, there's like panic and fear, and you can see in her voice, and she's like, and she's almost like she's in this leadership role, but you kind of feel like she's a bit of a flake. Like, I did anyway. I kind of felt like she doesn't feel like that she should be commanding these people, but she's obviously got her right hand man, the big bearded geezer who, like, you know, looks like he's not someone to be trifled with. But then from it to switch like that to her to go back and be like, I'm just gonna go and shoot the doctor, bam, and you're just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. You know, it was just, I don't know. She just seems like a very
nutty,
very, an insecure
again,
character.
when you first, that's it. Like the insecurity, you'd think, oh, maybe she's just had this role thrust on her, and you know, you sort of going like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to try and deal with this better. And then you say like 2 seconds later, she comes back and I'm a cold-hearted killer. Give a fuck.
Oh, can I just interject with what the fuck go on with that fucking building and the floor that was moving? Like, what the fuck's all that about?
Yes, behind, Well,
So
we're gonna. Oh well, no. Actually, can I just skip ahead and say what I like?
yeah. Close your point.
Right. I think that is going to be because it's been in a trailer. That's where we see the bloaters, or a bloater, because I have
Right.
seen a clip of of clickers climbing out of a hole, and then you just see a bloater appear out of a hole. So I am preempting that's what's going to be there. They're obviously they're tunneling under or something, and that's where we're going to see a bloater come in. So
Like a
potentially episode
mid-season
5,
villain?
perhaps episode 6. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'd expect it pretty soon.
That ties into something that I will admit is starting to become a bit of a concern. It feels like there's a lot of fucking story left to tell and not a great
Yep.
deal of time to tell it in, because we obviously know, we kind of know where this episode is gonna. We've got I've got a very distinct idea on where this episode's going to finish, because obviously an episode aired early on Friday instead of Sunday.
Yeah.
None of us have watched it yet, so we can obviously talk about it next week. But I've got a very distinct idea on where that episode's going to end narratively, and that's like we're more than halfway through the season.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're nowhere near that in the game in terms of story.
Which we did
You
say
know.
about we hope they don't rush things. Because when I found out it was 9 episodes, I was like, I thought this would be like a 12. 12 seems like you could do it. 9 seems, especially for where we are, they're either going to miss something key or they're going to rush something, and I hope that's not the case.
So, question then.
Yep.
But what if the last 9? What if the episode 9 is 120 minutes?
Oh, I'm taking that as given anyway.
Yeah.
I'm taking that, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if at least another one, maybe 2 of them were pushing an hour.
Maybe the last 2, yeah. Like 8 and 9, yeah.
Thinking through the story though, are they going to double up on some story points? Like, can you chop through a bit of it?
I think you don't have to flush out. Like, so we know they're on route to, or like we don't know where episode 5 goes. Episode 5's will be out, but we know from the game that he's going, and we know from what we've been told in the series that he's going to meet his brother.
Yeah.
Now his brother is quite a fleshed out part in the game. There's like a whole scene, where we go and like where they're setting up shop and everything and what's going on.
So
there.
that's an episode, I would.
Well, I'm saying you don't necessarily have to, because there's this whole thing about like, Ellie goes off and then, they have to go and find her, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to give away too many spoilers for people that don't know.
No, but you can chop
so
that
they can chop. So there is stuff that, like, I don't think that the David thing needs time.
That has to be at least an hour episode.
Has to be, because there is so much going on there. Like, you can't. But I feel there are other things, and like the end, we all know, like the end goal, the hospital and everything. That can't be rushed. That's got to be well planned out.
That's why that's got to be 120 minutes, I think.
Yeah, because you've also got that little snippet. I know in the game afterwards, at the end, it's only like 10, 15 minutes of like, we know what happens after, right at the very end of the game. I think they kind of need to flush that out well as well. They can't just skip. I think the game skips through it very, very quickly. Yeah. I think they could do a better job than what the game did in actually ending the story. And maybe, not dragging it out, that's the wrong word, but just flushing out that end.
Now, surprise twist. What if they just don't finish the entire game? And they go, right, we got to 9. We got good way chunk through. Everyone's in now. And that's why they announced season 2 to finish part 1. Would they do it?
But then how long is season 2 going to be? How many episodes?
9 episodes.
And then you've got to get the whole game in those 9 episodes plus part of season 2. And are they going to do any flashback stuff for the DLC?
They're left behind. I was going to ask about that. I was going to say, so are they going to?
Although actually, there's some very interesting, I think, little snippets that Ellie makes that might link in. So in this episode 4, obviously, like, Ellie takes someone out who's trying to attack Joel. That's a very seminal moment in the game as well. And I think, they condense that down a lot, that whole scene, because, like, there's a lot goes on between the point when she saves him. And it's different, because in the game, she actually murders someone. Joel's being drowned, and she shoots a guy in the head. And this time, it's like Joel doesn't want to let her kill this person. He's like, no, you can't end his life. You can't do that. You're too young. I need to protect you from this.
But is that TV?
Oh no, yeah, no, this is what I'm saying. It's they've changed it for that, yes. But what I'm saying is, later on when they're laying down and so he's talking and he's like about you don't want to kill someone like your age, you know, blah, blah. And she's like, it wouldn't be the first time. And then he alludes back to it when they're laying down. It's like, what did you mean when you said that this wouldn't be the first person that you've hurt? And
the bitch. What do you think I mean?
and I think this is sowing the seeds for them to potentially bring in that, like the Ellie origin story, which is left behind.
I actually reckon it wouldn't surprise me if they did do the first game with the first season, because I think they've been saying it's the whole thing even up until now, and I think by cutting it off, I just think there'd be riots. Do you know?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I would be surprised if they released Left Behind as a sort of extra episode like Sandman did, where, you know, if it finishes, the buzz is all like we're all starting to die down a little bit, and then bam, here's an episode that tells that story about Ellie. You know, wow.
Maybe tie it in with the release, because obviously isn't the release for the game on PC like May or something?
Not far. It's not far.
Oh, is it not far? Oh, okay, I thought it was a little bit further. So the series is going to finish, then we have a break in time, and then the game's going to release. It'd be a snidey little move to release that as that's releasing.
Let me just see what Steam's saying.
I remember the fucking the surprise episode of Sandman, like, involved it kicked off a very big argument at the office at work, you know, like, oh yeah, did you see the new episode of Sandman? I watched it this morning, and everyone was like,
what?
No. It finished, and they were like, no, there's another episode. So everyone's on their phone looking at Netflix, and I swear to God, you've never seen 20 people go and take their lunch hour at the same time, man.
Just to finalise your point, 28th of March is the release.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty much going to tie in. What are we on, the 11th of Feb? So, yeah, we've got 5 more episodes, 5 weeks, well, technically 4 weeks. So, yeah, it's going to actually tie in quite nicely, isn't it? The end of this to the release of the game. Fair enough.
Someone's going to finish it and go, you know what I need to do? Spend 60 quid on it again.
Yeah, and people will, after the show, people will buy it in droves. This will probably be the best-selling version of the game, man.
Yeah. I mean,
actually,
carry on.
So I said to Jay, didn't I, last week? So we stayed on call after you went to sleep, Rich. Bless your cotton socks.
Yeah, he needs his big boy sleep, everybody.
So we stayed on comms, and we were talking, and I was looking at bits and pieces, and I actually looked up the game that's obviously the PC version is being released, and saw the first 15 minutes of gameplay. And I said to you, didn't I, last week, Jay, like, watching it's brutal, because like I told her, I said, yeah, okay, it looks great. And we spoke about last week, like, the game is story based, does it need to be that great a graphics? But actually watching, and I watched Sarah's death, and I said to you, didn't I, like, watching it was like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't have this version, because her face and her facial expression in the game with I was like, oh my, like, I don't think I'd been able to cope. It was awful, because it was so visual.
I'll be honest, I'm probably going to crack and buy the game, if I'm fair.
Mate, just close your eyes during that bit, because it's.
Being on stream going, don't look, please, don't look.
Yeah, it was another solid episode. Like you say, there was definitely character growth and stuff like that. I just feel that, you know, I think the first 3 episodes, it was just such a strong opening salvo that anything would have felt like a bit of a come down. But then you can't keep having the kick in the emotions every fucking week. You know,
well, the game doesn't do it. The game has its lulls, it has its highs and its low points, and I think that's what keeps the story moving along quite well, because it is you're like, oh, okay, you can have a calm down, you can breathe. I think
to breathe.
The problem is, I think, because last week it was such a seminal episode, it's such a great episode, but it was still kind of as an episode that, when you think about it, like, nothing happened in a sense of to get the heart, nothing from an action sense happened. No, it was like, oh my god, like nothing. It was just like one of those episodes that it was just
Yeah.
but
You moved
brilliant, but
along.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not no disrespect to the episode or anything. I'm not trying. Like what I'm saying, it's just like it was one of those things that you couldn't take your eyes off it, but nothing happened in it that got your heart rate going. Nothing happened in it that you were like, other than obviously the end where they pass away and that starts to stir the emotions and everything. But then I feel like you would normally get the big pickup, which we didn't get because this episode also kind of just trucked along steadily, and even the attack when they when they go into the town and the guy's like pretending to be injured and everything, it that was very short lived as well.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just plateaued and it's okay, yeah, we get into this building and we're gonna get safe and I'm laying
But
down.
that's a considerably much more effective way of doing violence. It's why I've always
Yeah.
enjoyed like the films of Tarantino, because you look at something like The Hateful Eight and it's just so quiet and subdued,
Yeah.
and then the violence happens very quickly, very suddenly, very viscerally, and you're just like, whoa, it's just far more impacting than having something long and drawn out, isn't it?
Oh
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
you couldn't have something like this in the game because also you're treading the realms of like reality anyway and like believability anyway with the storyline, and now you put in that this one man who's with a 10-year-old girl and they're fighting off technically in the game hundreds of people. I mean, he's not a Navy SEAL. He's not part of the SAS. So, do you know what I mean? Like to have him just small little groups of 3 or 4 that they can deal with together. It is a very
Makes
it
more sense.
keeps you invested. It's not like, oh yeah, all right, calm down. Like,
but I will say this, and I was going to come to this point anyway. Have you played any of Last of Us Part 2 yet?
haven't started it yet, no.
No. So the scene, obviously, where the man is begging.
Yeah.
Now, if you've played number 2, there's a lot more of that in. So for me, that rang like, oh, I see what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're
Right, okay.
giving this face, because don't forget, in video games, and this is just very much a commentary on video games. In video games, you kill faceless people. Now, they haven't literally got no face, although in some games they've got no face. You kill faceless people over and over again. Now, in Last of Us Part 2, and this is no spoiler, they started to give these NPCs names. And then, so when you injured, he would call out 2 other named characters because they would share an emotional bond. So, like,
Yeah,
if you would kill
yeah,
that person in front of that person, they react with rage.
Ah.
And you'd have groups of people like rolling around and stuff like that, and you'd hear them talking and stuff, and then you'd kill one, and then after a couple of minutes, everyone would be like, "Yo, Frank."
Yeah.
Frank. And he just it's exactly what I said earlier, and it's far more of a theme that the second game explores, and explores very, very well. That from our perspective, Joel's the hero of the story, but everybody else he encounters, well, he's a villain. If he was in Fedra's position, in the city when that car came rolling in, he'd have done exactly the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
To protect him and his.
That's it. So my point being, again, not going on to spoilers of Last of Us Part 2, but what I liked about that was throwing in, and what I think they're going to do is this is going to be, that episode will just be that episode. There won't be another episode like it, but it will be to show and to purvey onto you not only the emotional growth between Ellie and Joel, but also yes, that like these people that they will be continually fighting, which you do a lot of in the game, but there's no need to show that really, because it's nice to see, that there's conflict, but in a story like what you're telling, then it's not crucial. In fact, I'd almost argue, and I saw a post the other week saying, oh, they almost didn't put the creatures in Last of Us 2. And I thought, my immediate thought was like, fucking, that had been dumb. But then I thought about it, and I was going, oh no, because when you think about it, the creatures are only really a plot device. What you're actually watching and what you're interested in is the plot, which is this grown man and this young girl who's immune to a killer virus, making it across a desolate wasteland.
When you think about it, like even in like the first game, they are secondary.
Yes.
Like the infected
Well-
are massively secondary at all points in the game. There are no, like, I know you've got the bloaters and you've got the, but they're just they're almost like filler as you walk between town to town, or
Yeah.
you go between scene to scene in the storyline. The main thing is
Clear for why you shouldn't
the
just
people.
search all these areas.
Yeah, it's people. It's always people in the game. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
you
the
might
whole,
get hordes of 5 or 6 come after you, or even more. But it's all about, and it's very much in the same vein as like The Walking Dead. Like at the very start of The Walking Dead, you're like, oh, okay, it's all about the zombies and then it quickly becomes, well, the zombies are a secondary thing. It's more about people, and it's a detailed analysis of how people would react in these circumstances and situations. Like, who takes the role of the leader, who only the fittest survive, who like comes to the forefront when this situation happens. And I think
Yeah,
it's
when
a
it's life or
very
death.
it's a very interesting, like, these kind of games, these kind of TV series, it's a very interesting construct on the human, like the psyche and everything, and like, if you were to put yourself in that position, you kind of fall into one or two categories. Like,
You do, but you normally end up sympathizing with the protagonist because you mainly see from their eyes,
Yeah.
like not theirs. Which, you could argue is jaded, which is, as much as I'm not the happiest person in the world about Part 2 storyline, I will say that the way they portray the idea of it not being as black and white as you see it, which is like, oh, Joel's a good guy because I play him, therefore he's the good guy. But also that, like, Joel, Ellie, these other people are having a massive effect on everybody else, not just
yeah,
their
Well-
concentric bubble.
they've got their story. Joel and Ellie have their story, which is what we're following. But we're
Yeah.
not following, like, let's take their film, the series, like Kathleen. She's trying to keep this town together, this group of people. We see them as villains. Well, to them, Joel and Ellie are the villains. But we're never going to get to see it from their point of view, because obviously we're only following, one part of the story.
Well, we're following our heroes, aren't we? That's ultimately what you do in any story-based thing. Whoever the writer is decides on the heroes, the villains.
Yep.
Because there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. There's always conflict of some description. Whether it be a boring, I'm sorry if you like them, a boring trial film, which there are loads of boring trial films. There's also some moral ones, but there's always a winner and a loser. So, like, again, it's all in the, it's that old adage, isn't it? The fucking history is wrote by the winners. So, it's always one-sided, whether you like it or not. Rich, you all right there, dude? I know that me and DJ have just been fucking back.
Sorry.
So I had a point, but you've gone so far past it, it just doesn't even matter anymore.
Can you not claw it back somehow?
I don't even remember what it was
Well,
anymore.
you're that stunned by the genius that just came out of mine and Jay's mouth that you're just like, I've got to hand it to these guys. Just wow.
I'm just,
Yeah, like-
just let him go, man. Just let him go.
He had a couple of words that just destroy us, like, fuck you.
Yeah, it's just like,
No,
it's like,
yeah.
it's like, have you seen that clip from what's the Adam Sandler film? Like Billy Madison. It's like, that answer is the most stupidest answer I have ever seen. We are all dumber for even hearing that answer. Like, that's what's just happened, people, and we apologise.
When you should say, I was looking for that meme earlier today.
Oh,
In
was you?
fact, I had a moment, like, just talking about films, just on a sidetrack. Like, I like the film The Burbs. And
Yes,
there's a bit in
that's
The
a great film.
Burbs where they knock over the brownies, and I can't remember the actor's name. There goes the goddamn brownies. And, like, me and my mate have adopted it as a moment of, like, when just something happens that you got no power over. So I was making a coffee to come and do this podcast, and I put one of them powdered cappuccinos in this cup. And I turned round, and because I'm wearing this big fucking oversized stupid hoodie, my sleeve caught it, knocked it onto the floor, and it was partially moist inside, so now it's just clumpy, cappuccino-y, wanting to be messy. And all I thought to myself was, like, there go the fucking goddamn brownies. Sorry about my little side note.
It's all good. It's all good.
Just
Great
thought to myself
film.
earlier, I was like,
Great
fucking
film.
unbelievable.
The Clopex.
The
great.
Klopek. What's up, Rube?
It's up. That's got to be around for a remake soon. Surely they've remake everything else.
They threw it up a while back. Someone bought the script, I think, and they were going to try and tool it. I don't know though. Me and my friends, because we love it so much, we've tried to recast it a couple of times with like current day.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll have to sit down and try and chunder it out on the old pod. The other thing I was going to bring up to you at some point, and maybe we'll do it next week, but just to give you a forefront, if you were going to take a video game and turn it into a film, and what I want from you is the game, the main actor, the supporting actor, the thing that's going to make it pop. There we go. Those are the items.
Interesting.
All right, I've actually, while we're talking about sort of film-based challenges, then I've got a cool one. So for next week, I want you to have a think, and if they were going to make a film out of your life, who would you get to play you?
Prime.
I'm done. I'm finished. See you
Prime
later. I'm out of
Arnold.
the game.
Prime Arnold.
Yeah, I love it. I always used to, when I was like the trainer at my shop. I always used to ask like really off-kilter questions like that because I found like people's answers. It was a really interesting way to sort of get into somebody's headspace. You know, do people instantly think like actors that look like me, or do people default to who's an actor who could play my character well? Do you know what I mean?
Seth Green in both. He looks like me, and he'd probably play me pretty well. So he's a stoner. Although he's Jewish, I'm not Jewish.
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have a clue, mate. Someone devilishly handsome.
I'm thinking
witty.
A young lad.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare! If you say Brian Blessed, I'm going to drive to your house and murder you. If fucking Brian Blessed comes out of your mouth, I swear to God, I'm killing you dead.
What's something in the realms of a man fighting another man with like a name like, I don't know, Flash.
Such a dickhead. Such a dickhead. Should I get my red suit on? I'll come all red next week.
No, because he'll bring the fucking army and we haven't got Flash Gordon. So there's fuck all we can do. Just Brian Blessed coming at me. No, I'm not down. I'm out. I'm out.
Oh. On a random note, I always used to love having Brian Blessed at the Comic Cons, man, because people would just be running past his booth going, "Dive!" It was great. Absolutely great.
Oh, dear.
I gotta find the Family Guy clip of Brian Blessed against Flash. I gotta find it, and then whenever TJ comes in, I'm just gonna play it. Flash.
Oh man,
mate, you don't know.
Talk about derailing a topic or what, man.
Yeah. That man is I know, it gets brought up several times a year. It goes, oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, you'd be a good Brian Blessed. Fuck off. I'm like, of anyone, like, why him?
G,
I know he's a G. I know he's amazing. I know he's great. But it's just travesty. It's just like, no, seriously, come on.
Oh, mate. He works in gardening. His beard's going white. Oh, he's Brian Blessed almost.
Fucking hell. Oh, dear. Oh.
So, what else are we going to talk about then?
Oh, right. I suppose we should move away from TJ being Brian Blessed.
Looking like Brian Blessed.
Yeah, thanks.
And move on to our next subject, which of course is streaming services. So, streaming services have probably been taken over, what would you say, past decade? Probably past decade, streaming services have been taking over your life. Now, the reason I want to talk about streaming services, I should probably bring up, is there are so many now. There are so many streaming services that I mean, in England, we don't even have access to some of them. So you end up having to have, like, the main one for us channel-wise is probably Sky or Virgin Media. I know that there's free TV. They're all, like, generally subscription-based because you have to have a box to be able to get things. But on top of that, with the internet-based services, we're at Netflix. Then there's Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple, Can we get Hulu in this country?
I don't think we can. Well, obviously, you can get anything with a VPN. Well, and
Fair.
and a way round to actually paying for the subscription because you need an American-based
PayPal.
address. No, well, this is the thing with HBO Max. You need obviously PayPal registers your address as obviously being in the UK. You can't pay for HBO Max with a UK PayPal account. So you have to set up an American-based PayPal account, and that's not the easiest
Hotel
thing
in
in the world.
Florida.
So
having lots of streaming services is bad enough, but it's when you've got the separate streaming services in the streaming services, you know, like stars and stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I haven't just got to pay for Amazon Prime. I've got to pay for these other 4 things in Amazon Prime. So
Stars,
what?
Shudder, then what is it? Fucking Paramount. That's a new one. That's
Paramount
sprung up
Plus,
out of
yeah,
nowhere.
Paramount Plus, yeah. Why?
And then, as gamers, just to add on top of that, you got if you play on PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live. I mean, thankfully, there's on PC apart from Xbox Game Pass, there isn't really no subscription services unless you want Humble Bumble.
As well.
Nintendo, Nintendo as well, yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo Switch, yeah.
I think the thing, like, so essentially, okay, like, so it all like. So life started, didn't it? That you know you have your terrestrial television. You pretty much like everyone lived under the same thing of like, okay, we live our lives around the TV schedule. So at 7 o'clock, this is coming on. Then we'll move to this channel for 7:30 for this. Then we'll go to 8 for this. And people like legitimately organised their nights around the telly, like you know their channels and stuff. Then obviously like Sky give you the ability to record, and that kind of gives you that little bit more freedom because you can record
Saturday morning cartoons, by the way, just
exactly. And then but underlying that, you always had like your rental stores, your Blockbusters, your Choices Video, and all stuff like that, which was like amazing. As a child, like Blockbuster was heaven. It's like you walk through the door, like as you walk through the door, like these lights come down, and games as well. I mean, they were ridiculously expensive for what they are, but
they were. But
and then
you
obviously
could borrow that game for a couple of days, maybe clock it if you were any good.
And then you got like the Love Film, which was like you know the internet subscription service for DVDs. They'd send you a DVD, you pay your subscription, send it.
Isn't that how you want? Isn't that how Netflix started off?
Well, this is what I'm getting to, and then obviously it's progressively moved on, and I kind of feel like terrestrial television essentially is pretty much it's not dead, but it's definitely instead of being at the forefront, it's the furthest back nowadays in people's like.
I mean,
we've got small numbers here, all 3 of us. Do any of you watch terrestrial TV?
No, I don't even have a way of doing it.
No, I don't have. One, I'm cheap and I flat out refuse to pay a TV license, so I have no way of watching live TV at all. And in terms of actually like watching stuff, like I'll be the first one to say I don't watch a great deal of shit at all. In terms of actual streaming services, the only one I pay for is Crunchyroll, and I'm happy to do that because
you're an anime fan.
And like anime, particularly in the UK, has kind of got a lot better in terms of streaming because there was a lot of bullshit. You had 2 major anime streaming services. You had Crunchyroll and Funimation, and both were great and both were shit for different reasons. And they did this horrible thing where like say the 6 best anime coming out that year, 3 of them would be exclusive to Crunchyroll and 3 of them would be exclusive to Funimation. So you'd have to have both if you wanted to see both and support the medium. But Sony, who actually owned Funimation, have bought Crunchyroll. And
that's what I was just about to ask. Didn't one buy the other?
Yeah, they've merged them together. So they've been moving everything over from Funimation to Crunchyroll to the point where if you go on Funimation now, they actually tell you straight. They say, you could sign up for this. We'd probably say not. Go and spend your money at Crunchyroll instead.
Nice. That's quite good then.
Yeah, quite. Yeah, but that is after they bought them and they kept charging us for both for 2 years.
Oh, okay. Well, Sony are, they're not.
They actually got done by the Department of Justice in the United States because in terms of Western streaming, like for anime, like they own it all. You know,
really?
that's it. You've got.
So they've got the monopoly.
Yeah, fucking, you've got the third biggest one's probably H Dive, and you can't even get that in the UK properly, you know. So fucking, it's just a non thing. So anime streaming's actually like pretty decently, but yeah, I have that's the only one I pay for. I have access to Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus. But if I lost them, I wouldn't exactly cry a river over it. I've watched 2 shows on Netflix in the last 12 months, you know.
So we had Sky. We paid for Sky, and I got rid of that. And we have no aerial. So once Sky gone, pretty much we have, and we pay for Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, and obviously I do pay for a TV license because I do watch BBC iPlayer. When there's football on and stuff, and it's
I
live.
was going to say,
And
football will probably make you
as
up.
much as I would like not to pay it, I just know I'm the kind of idiot that's going to get the knock on the door, and I just can't be asked dealing with that. And the wife watches stuff on ITV like X or whatever it is. That's so I don't. So I watch their streaming things, but I don't actually have access to like your basic terrestrial, if you will.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't miss not having terrestrial TV. There's nothing like I don't miss not having Sky. Like I can get everything I need service-wise, myself, my wife, my daughter, through the services we pay for. It's not cheap paying for all of them, but it I it's probably not what I'd call value for money, but I probably, unlike Rich, I probably would be a little bit like, oh crap, if I didn't have them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
See, we pay at the house. We've got Sky because the wife likes to watch Sky and varying degrees of live television. She actually watches live television. I think she's always been brought up with it. She doesn't really mess around with computers, so therefore she's like, I just want to press a button and then I can watch what I want to watch. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So we pay for all of them. We as a couple, we pay for all of them. I don't so much mind, but my point being is how far away are we before somebody like Sky goes, and they've already done it with Netflix, goes, for a little bit extra money, we'll give you subscription to all of these. So we all just go back to the point, even though it's still subscribed. That's how it's got to go, isn't it? I would have thought.
100%. The thing that baffles me is in terms of, especially with some of the streaming services, and I'm going to pick on one here, in particular, the DC one. The DC one was fucking maddening because, like, you couldn't get access to it in Europe, like, at all. And there was stuff like Doom Patrol, there was stuff like Swamp Thing. And I legitimately, I'd have forget everything else that was on there. So the old seasons of Batman, the animated series, Justice League, Batman of the Future, all of the animated films, all this stuff I absolutely love. Forget that. I would have paid a yearly subscription just to support those 2 shows. But I couldn't. I had no legal way of actually watching those fucking shows. It was absolutely maddening. And then they pull the service because not enough people subscribe to it. Well, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, when there's only one fucking continent on the planet that can actually subscribe to it. Or dickheads.
I want to put up a graphic on the thing just so we can have a look. Like I've got it on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. The basic prices of what I classed as the big 6: Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Apple TV, HBO Max, and Hulu. Bearing in mind, HBO Max and Hulu aren't at this current moment in time available in the UK, but I know HBO Max is releasing, I think by the end of this year they may well be over here. But one thing that struck me is, like, they've all got different structures for their payments. So Netflix has 3. It's a basic, a standard, a premium, which goes from $6.99 all the way up to a premium of $15.99, which is 4 devices in Ultra HD. Like Prime is the same. It has if you just want Prime. Prime, I think, is an interesting one because Prime has, for the basic Prime video package, is $5.99. Or you can do their Prime, which includes the delivery, which I think is massive. Like $7.99 a month or £79 a year, and the £79 a year also includes Amazon Music. So they're kind of like trying to compete with Spotify there. But and then, like,
if I was going to
go on.
streaming service, it would be Prime, another one, Prime, and it wouldn't even be for the TV. It'd just be for the fucking delivery, man. Because
it's massive. We use it constantly. I've got stuff coming tomorrow that I ordered earlier. It's a great thing. But one thing with Amazon Prime that does piss me off is the fact that you find something you want to watch and it's locked behind a paywall. It's
Yeah.
like you kind of feel like,
Forever.
well, I pay for Netflix, I get everything that's on Netflix. I haven't got to go through something else. Like you said earlier about the a streaming service within a streaming service, Stars and fucking Paramount and whatever
Prime
else,
king for that
you
as
know.
well.
And you're
Prime
like,
king for
why?
that.
Hang on, I'm paying for this. Now, I think the way that the reason people don't moan about it is because of all the extras Amazon throw in, like the delivery, the music if you pay annually. So it's like, you're kind of like, well, why don't I get everything? You're like, well, hang on a minute, we're giving you delivery next day, calm down. So you're like, you can't really moan about it too much. But there is one thing I find with Prime is there's hardly anything. If I didn't have Prime Video, it wouldn't bother me because I paid the $7.99 just for the next day delivery. To be honest with you, the Prime Video is just a bonus. So I can't moan too much that it's that most of the stuff is locked behind a paywall because it is most of the stuff.
Well, what I will say about Prime though is that their videos rotate a lot more. Like if you click on what's free to me, which is in the top corner, their videos rotate a lot faster. So all right, you're not, 1 week you can watch, I don't know, Clerks, and then you go, oh, I'd like to watch Clerks again 3 weeks later, and then you look and go, oh, Clerks, I got to pay £6 now. Which is not, I mean, don't get me wrong, like a lot of the videos are like £3.50, so they're not exorbitant prices because
it shouldn't be anything you can pay for the fucking service.
Yeah.
Is the point? It's a thing. It's just maddening, isn't it? You can pay for this. You pay for the ability to pay to watch the thing. It's like, what?
Yeah, actually, that's yeah.
But don't they also do a free one now where you can have adverts or something? Or am I imagining?
I couldn't. Not with them. There are a few. It's mostly the American ones that are still like throw adverts at the moment. Netflix, Prime, Disney don't have, and Apple TV didn't. Like I only have the 3 out of those 4 that I mentioned. I don't have Apple TV. I don't know if Apple TV throws ads, but it didn't say. But HBO and Hulu are very much you can have HBO Max with ads at a monthly or annual cost, or ad free for a monthly or annual cost. And the same with Hulu. It's monthly with ads or monthly without ads. And it's like
a bit of a kick in the dick to pay with ads.
It's like, double. Well, Hulu's double the price. Hulu is $7.99 with ads, or $14.99 without ads. So it's double the price to take away the adverts. It's quite a lot of money. Now I don't know how often the adverts are. Like I say, I haven't got Hulu, but if they're like every 10 minutes, then you're gonna pay the $15.99 because that would just be annoying as fuck.
Exactly, like I downloaded Crunchyroll because I was paying for Funimation at the time because I was a bit more bothered about that year's seasonal animes, and I downloaded the free version of Crunchyroll because it's like it's free. There's just some ads, and me thinking it's gonna be like fucking YouTube. I think I made it 10 minutes through an episode of something before I bought it because in that 10 minutes. I'd had 4 90-second adverts, and I was like,
mental.
I'm going to smash something. Like, I just can't do it. Like,
that's essentially strong arming you, though.
It is. Yeah, but it's the way. It is the way. It is the way they do it. I mean, Amazon are very sneaky because, like, if you buy an Amazon Fire tablet, it's like there are 2 options. There's with ads or without ads. It's only £10 difference when you buy it. But if you buy the without ads, like you can still buy you can still pay the £10 once you've got the tablet, but you go, ads ain't gonna be that much. It's littered with fucking ads everywhere. And it's like, for God's sake. So you're always gonna pay that extra money because no one wants, no one. And it's the same reason why I think like stuff like in a sense, terrestrial TV is losing out to stuff like Netflix. Not only because you can binge watch stuff that you can't do with terrestrial, but people don't want to sit through adverts. We're too impatient. Like nowadays, we want stuff point, click, watch, done. No point, click, watch, pause. 10 minutes later, comes back on. You can watch it. You know, it gets annoying. So my wife, and this is a key point. So my wife has just started watching with like One Tree Hill again, a series that she loved. It's it's whatever. And she started watching it again. It's on ITVX. And it's like a 60-minute episode, but every 15 minutes there's an advert. So she watched the first episode. I was like, oh my God, adverts. And she's like really getting annoyed that there's adverts. And it was like, well, yeah, because we're conditioned now to just being able to just sit there and watch the episode without any kind of, we decide if we want to take a break from it.
But all 3 of us are from a generation where we witnessed Channel 5.
Yeah.
Where that was a big thing because there was a fifth terrestrial channel that you didn't pay chuff all for. Well, you didn't think you paid chuff all for, but someone had to pay a TV license. And like, because I mean, I was poor. I didn't have like Sky or cable or anything until I was older. So like having a fifth channel, especially with a free porn channel, giggity.
Always, always.
Right. So I remember that, and like everything had adverts. So then they bought out, what was it, the TiVo box, or it was an American was the TiVo box, and then they started putting it into the Virgin machine standardly that you could pause TV, and there was a hard drive built in it, so you could record and go back and then get through adverts by not watching the episode, recording it, coming back, watching the episode, skipping the advert to keep watching your advert, which was just the growth into fuck adverts until someone went, fuck adverts for a price. And then they get the money from the revenue from the adverts and from you. So it's just a win-win for them. And it's just, I just find it's crazy because like we've gone full circle. So I can only imagine we're going to go full circle again.
I think, I don't know. I think what would be an interesting, like, I think we should talk also, like, everyone, like, you know, I'm not going to, thing with Rich, but Rich said he has access to Netflix, Disney, and Prime. Right?
Yes.
Now,
the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. And pretty much the whole thing that got us originally talking about bringing this in as a subject was something like Netflix released. So Netflix obviously have seen over the last few years a massive drop in numbers, or quite a substantial drop in numbers. And obviously they're like, hold on a minute, we need to, to claw some of this market share back. It's largely, I would say, to do with other companies coming out at competitive prices with, with their own, like a HBO Max and Apple TV, Prime, Disney, and all the rest. But obviously they want to clamp down on password sharing.
Yes.
Which, if you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not asking anyone to drop themselves in on like live on YouTube. But yeah, so like it's a real interesting thing. And to Netflix, it all come out. It got released. I think it was on the 2nd of February, wasn't it? That someone released that Netflix had this plan in place. And what it was they're going to essentially the main account, the home that is in, is going to be a central hub, and that it was a primary location, and it was if you're logged in to that, you have to log into that primary location, to that internet address, once every 31 days, which essentially means you're not going to carry your telly round to your mum's house to go and log in round her house. Essentially means you're going to have to pay for your own. And there was massive uproars.
Yes, so everyone left or something, or threatened to leave. Something. I remember.
Well, everyone, turned around and said, this is a big L for Netflix. And Netflix released a tweet, which is on the screen, and it pretty much says, "We know there's been a lot of confusion about sharing Netflix. A Netflix account is intended for one household. So we're rolling out new features in Canada, New Zealand, Portugal, Spain, and more broadly over the coming months to give you more control over your account." And I've also got up on screen from. On the Netflix website, it's a post from Chengi Long, Director of Product Innovation, and he sets out the 5 main points of this, which is the set primary location, and they've stated as will help members set this up, ensuring that everyone who lives in the household can use a Netflix account. Manage account access and devices. Members can now easily manage and have access to their account from the new Manage Access and Device page. Transferring profiles, which is people using the account can easily transfer a profile to a new account which they pay for, keeping their personalised recommendations, viewing history, my list, saved games, and more. Watch while you travel, which was members can still easily watch Netflix on their personal devices or log into a new TV like at a hotel or holiday rental. Or, and this is where I think they're going to piss people off, because they've come out with a buy an extra member. So I think they're going to use this as the, no, you can share your password.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you an extra little price to pay. So members on the standard or premium plan, which is currently in the UK $10.99 and $15.99, in many countries, including Canada, New Zealand, Portugal, and Spain, can add an extra member sub account for up to 2 people they don't live with, while each with a profile, personalised recommendations, login, and password. The price is Canadian dollars $7.99 a month. New Zealand, it's $7.99. Now, this is the interesting one. They've got prices for Portugal and Spain. Now, they're neighbours, right? But Portugal, it's €3.99, and Spain, it's €5.99.
Jesus, it's quite a jump.
It's nearly double. I don't know why the price is so much different Spain to Portugal, considering they're like neighbours. I don't know. Like, obviously, cost of living and everything probably comes into it and bits and pieces in that country. But I'm assessing by that probably if it comes out in the UK later this year, we're probably looking at another £7, $6.99, which would take, if you've got the maximum account, your the premium account, it's going to take your Netflix to like £22 a month, which seems a little bit. You're getting into Sky money.
Yeah, my Sky's like 50 odd.
Well, I'm just talking about for basic, before you start throwing extra stuff in. Like, I think the basic Sky package is like 30 quid. The cheapest Sky package is like 30 quid. So you're entering into them kind of realms, aren't you?
You're only getting one service. I mean, I know they'll harp on about Netflix games, which I don't know what that is, but I hear it's a thing.
Yeah, I've never played a Netflix game. I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't even find. Honestly, if someone went find Netflix games online, I'd go, I can put it in Google. So.
Well, I think you can actually access games like through your telly, through actual Netflix. But yeah, I've never done that, so I don't know.
Any knowledge yourself, Rich?
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah, Netflix games. I don't know whether they give you access to games.
I don't know.
Because they've made their own games, made them like Netflix games.
Well, they've done a Stranger Things game, I know.
Yeah.
But considering I'm a gamer and I've not heard anything about it, I don't really hold high hopes for it.
Yeah, it's just.
But it's an interesting one because you start treading on the. So obviously, yeah, we all understand. Like, you know, we get like password sharing and that. Okay, yeah, you shouldn't do it. You're.
Oh, but like, I mean, there was a time when someone paid £6 a month and it was your mate or
but I mean, think about
look, man, here's my password. No one gives a shit, so it doesn't matter.
Well, think about like students, for instance, like who like their parent and they log into their parents' account and everything. Yeah, like I personally see this as a more harm than good, and I think Netflix may well roll this back by the end of the year because I think they're going to see a lot of people because all they need is one of their competitors to go, we're never going to bring this in. Come to us.
They'll take the loss until Stranger Things 5 comes out, and then they'll go, everyone's back.
Yeah, but they'll come back. What'll happen is they'll come back for a month. Like, if they release Stranger Things, what might happen, actually?
You'll have 1 million, 20 million people create new email accounts and sign up for free trials for a week and binge watch it.
Yeah.
That's all you'll get.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And the only way around it, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think if that happens, the only way around it is they stop binge watching. They stop releasing every episode. Everything goes back to being a weekly release, and then you're kind of like taking away one of the beautiful things about Netflix, about streaming services, is the fact that you can binge watch stuff.
Yeah, smash 10 episodes into my face and give up sleep for that night.
Was the point I was trying to make about half an hour ago.
Sorry.
That I really, is I kind of really dislike the binge watching model of TV watching, and I wish it hadn't become a thing. Like, our whole streaming service is like quite accountable for that. I really don't like the fact that as much as I dislike the idea of everyone being beholden to a fucking schedule in terms of, held ransom for your entertainment, I love the idea of Game of Thrones is on Monday, so Tuesday everybody's watched Game of Thrones.
Yep.
So all we're fucking doing at Tuesday is we're talking and we're speculating. You don't really seem to get that because everyone tends to be at different points in TV shows and stuff these days. A show comes out, the people that have got, fucking, like, now that I've got, like, Stranger Things, for example, I couldn't really talk to anybody about it for about 3 weeks because everyone watched it in one day. I don't like watching TV like that, so it took me like 2.5 weeks to watch it. Do you know what I mean?
I think, there is definitely that point, isn't there? Like, I've appreciated I'm not a massive. I'm not normally someone that watches something the minute it gets released anyway. So say like Stranger Things, the latest season of Stranger Things, I didn't watch it for a couple of months, and it wasn't because I didn't have the time. I could have made the time and everything, but I'm just like, I'll watch it when I will watch it. I know I'll watch it, and I know how to avoid people talking about it, so I can, and I'll watch it when, like, when I want to, But what I have appreciated about The Last of Us is the fact that it's weekly, and the fact that you can take that episode in. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? When you watch like 4 episodes, so say like we had watched, so we've had 4 episodes. If we'd have gone bosh, 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 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the same day and watched them all, and then we sat here and we were like, oh, like episode, we would have skipped over so much stuff that we've covered because it just all melds into one, and you pick up points from each episode and you miss the minutia of each episode. And sometimes the minutia is like amazing.
That's what makes it, like, people thought I was insane because it took me 10 days to watch Sandman, and they're like, you've waited 20 years for this. And it's like, yeah, cool. I want to watch an episode and let it sink in. Like, if I watch a whole show in a fucking day, I can tell you the overarching plot points, but I couldn't tell you what you went, episode 3. I wouldn't be able to tell you which one episode fucking 3 was,
Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, to be fair though, Sandman is a hard season. If you want to try and binge watch it, that's not an easy thing to just sit there and smash 10 episodes.
Sandman's quite a weighty one, but it was like the only 2 fucking shows I watched last year were live action, particularly were Sandman and Stranger Things. And this is the whole thing with Netflix. If they do this password sharing thing, then I'll say bye to Netflix. Do you know, it's not a big deal. And when it comes to it, when the next season of Stranger Things comes through, I'll just do exactly what I said. I'll make a new email account, like a throwaway email account. I'll sign up for a week free trial. I'll smash it off, and then I'll get rid of it again. You know, I just don't watch it enough for, it'd be annoying not having the option, but like, is it gonna fucking ruin? Like, you take Crunchyroll from me, and fuck me, man. I'll eat your bones. You know what I mean? No fucking hope in hell. But yeah, like all the rest of them, like Disney Plus, I've watched The Mandalorian on it and Gargoyles because it was an awesome TV show. And that's it. You know. Amazon Prime's gone. I'll get Amazon Prime back for the next season of The Boys and the next season of Good Omens, and that'll be that.
Invincible.
Invincible. Yeah, Invincible. Sorry.
What I will say is, I wonder how long it would be just bringing it back to terrestrial TV. Will we ever see Stranger Things being sold to an ITV, shall we say?
Not until well after it's done.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got what last season coming, right? I think once it's put out to pasture by Netflix, and Netflix can't actually make any money from it. Like at the moment, Netflix make money from Stranger Things, but there will become a point where Netflix don't make money from Stranger Things, and it just becomes a thing on their service, and that's when you're like, okay, we'll put it out to. And it's the same with films, isn't it? When films become like non-existent almost to a sense, like financially. It's like, well, we'll sell these to ITV, to BBC, to Channel 4, whomever, and it gets like a little new lease of life there. They get a little bit more money back into it. But I think
Netflix get to double dip, don't they? Because like the BBC will do 1 episode a week.
Yeah.
Whereas people who are impatient
and then
will go,
it's
a Netflix thing. Can't I just buy Netflix and just watch?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I think. I don't know. I kind of see. I think there's a dangerous trend with streaming services as well, which I'd like to get yours two's opinions on. In the fact of, we seem to have gone through a landslide change in the financial landscape of TV and film. So your big, massive, epic blockbusters were always your films. You might have 1 or 2 seasons a year that get a series a year that get a little bit more money spent on them. But ultimately, you could always tell the difference in like your TV series because of your level of actor, the CGI, the story. There was still some amazing stuff created on low budgets, but like everything was money-wise was all geared towards the movies. And I kind of do feel that along with the streaming services has come with a lot more money is put into your TV series. So you look at how much money. I mean, I remember last week, Rich mentioned that Swamp Thing was a $50 million series. Was that
Yep.
right? Or was
That was just a ballpark. You give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Well, just
so-
yeah. So you
Just
take
to
that
give you a little
into
bit of insider, just so you
Yeah.
got some numbers. There was obviously I was an extra in something, and I was told on set that had a budget because of who the directors were of 100 million, and it was
Yeah.
something like
for a
a
series.
9 for a series.
Yeah.
No,
Man,
so
4.9 million
9
an
episodes.
episode for Swamp Thing.
So
Yeah.
that's like money that 20 years ago was unheard of for a series. You would never.
20 years ago, that was
one.
buying a film.
Yeah,
One
exactly.
of those episodes was a film.
So
But my thing with this is is that happening because of streaming services, or did streaming services get popular because TV was getting to that point anyway?
I
'Cause
think
I'd
it potentially
argue-
comes hand in hand. I think maybe you don't get one without the other, because ultimately, without streaming services, who is going to buy the series?
Well-
who is going to bankroll the money? Like most of this stuff
You've got
is
to have-
Netflix
you've got-
originals. Like the people behind it that are creating the series, most of them are the owners of the streaming services. Like, or they're
you've got-
tied with them.
quality anyway, because you look at the biggest and highest rated TV shows that have ever existed, and virtually none of them are from streaming services. They're like Game of Thrones, they're Breaking Bad, they're The Wire, they're the Lucifer, they're not.
Yeah, but I also
Lucifer.
but you look at when they were
Download.
released. I think you look at when those were released, and they're
Yeah,
all
they were-
like within the last 10 years.
That's what I'm sort of saying. I'm sort of saying
So I'm
TV
kind of-
got to
yeah,
the
but
level where people went, hang on a minute, we can actually start making loads of money from this. And instead of just letting channels have it, why don't we make a service?
But is that because of-
and sell it straight to people?
But is that? But what I'm saying is that because like without the streaming
But
services, does that
TV
happen?
got
I don't
great
know.
because streaming services got massive. Is my point I'm trying to make.
But the other thing that I wanted to was obviously like with actors now. I kind of right. This you might not agree with this, but I kind of feel some actors like it's easy paydays, right? For like to just pump out content, no matter how good the content is. So like I think you look at a lot of the films that are done by Netflix. That like we'll take one for instance, Bright, Will Smith film, massive budget.
Right.
Flop, fucking giant flop. I don't know whether you guys enjoyed it or whatever. I didn't
think
mind it.
it
It was
was
all right, but
alright.
ultimately it flopped. It's a massive flop. You look at most
Didn't
of the
make
stuff.
its money back.
No, you look at most of the stuff in that category. When I kind of feel it's just like let's throw money at an actor, and rather than fill out a lot of the. Rather than actually create something that's a great story and everything, it's more just like, well, we'll just get a name behind it, we'll throw money behind it, and it's going to work. And I kind of feel the streaming services have kind of made it easy for shit to be made.
Well, just to put on that though, that's because it's easy to sell on an advert, and in order to enter the gate, in order to come to the party, they've got to give you a month.
Well, the thing is,
Or-
it's the thing is, it's just for them, it's just content, right?
Yeah.
Like we've got this film with Will Smith. We don't really care if you like this film or not, because ultimately, what we're gonna reel you in with this film, but we're gonna keep you here with everything else. So it's
I will
like
say,
it's
I
like
will say,
the big stuff is literally just a fishing expedition.
I will say that what I will say about generally Netflix content is it's more risk taking, and I understand that because the only thing that sells in cinema is, as we've previously discussed, comic book movies and blockbuster movies. Arty-farty movies don't really sell. Not that like people don't enjoy them, Rich. I know you enjoy them, but they don't really sell.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
So
one thing I
then-
will. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
then your
Oh.
middle of the road films go to Netflix, go to Amazon, because they've got blank checkbooks and they need to fill content. So even though the content is mediocre, the thing what they do is, or at least what the production team does as well, we'll get a name behind this, and then it will make our mediocre story seem like it's going to be something bigger, which will sell it. And then
The thing-
Carry on.
The thing I appreciate Netflix for in particular at the moment is introducing a lot of people to stuff from other cultures. So obviously both Alice in Borderlands and Squid Games become
Yeah.
huge, massive, popular successes. Now, weirdly enough, I wasn't massively into Squid Games because I've this sounds so rah, I was there first, but that isn't a new story to me. I've seen that story told many times in like various representations of Asian media, whether that be live action, anime, cinema from Japan, Korea, rare, do you know what I mean? So it wasn't it was new to a lot of people, and I think it opened a lot of people's eyes. And my mom now, in particular, it's awesome. I go to hers on Netflix, and she's got all these Korean dramas and stuff. She's like, have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? Have you seen this one? I'm like, no, actually, I haven't. That's kind of cool.
Well, it's good that it's opening cultural doors because generally, as cultures are, you tend to shut your door into like, well, I need to see, my own representation on the screen, which for us is cis white males, and now we're seeing multiple. We're not going to get into that conversation, but
You get, especially with stuff from other cultures, that like you look at anything sort of made from Asia, and everything about it is totally different. Like just the sense of style, the style of cinematography, the use of sound, the use of music. It's just a completely different form of the expression of film. And it's one of the reasons why traveling is such a profound experience, because you get so used to seeing it from, like you were just saying, from your point of view. So like, I live in England, this is how life is. You
yeah,
go somewhere 9,000 miles away and you're like, holy shit, that isn't how life has to be. Life can be like this. And it's the same sort of thing with entertainment. People are like, holy shit, there is actually an alternative from the, I don't think anyone can accuse Asian entertainment from ever feeling like it was made by committee, like you get with Western
yeah,
entertainment.
that's it.
Mainly because it's batshit fucking mental.
Well, it's made to sell. The thing with
Yeah,
Western committee stuff is it's made to sell. It's who's this going to target? How can we get the widest variety of audience? Even if these people only think it's a 3, they showed up, but these people here they'll think it's a 9, so that's
yeah.
good.
Remember when
Whereas
Squid Games
West,
dropped? Like cultural juggernaut, it just took over the fucking world, didn't it? For a couple of months.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Right.
this is how massive like Squid Games was. My daughter's 10, right? My daughter's never watched Squid Games. I'm not going to about to let her watch it. She's 10, for crying out loud.
that's a responsible adult and parent right there.
Yeah, exactly
Don't do
right.
that, kid.
Okay,
Don't do
exactly.
that.
We got an email and then were attached onto a video call with the school because it had come out that a lot of her year had watched Squid Games and they were playing Squid Games in the playgrounds.
Yeah, red light, green light in the
And it's
playground
like,
and
and
stuff.
and they obviously like they all CC'd us in on this email, and then
Try
with the
again,
link
mate.
to a video call. Yes, mate. Words are hard. English is hard.
I know it.
And yeah, it was a case of like, yeah, this is such a massive thing. It's such a like that you've got these 10-year-olds, like the parents, whether the parents are aware their children are watching it, I don't know. And yeah, like you say, it's a cultural thing that just kind of like took over out of nowhere. And when you realize, when you actually look into the story, like the guy made it how many years ago, and he couldn't sell it for love nor money. Like you say, probably like Rich is saying, like it's a story that's been told time and time again. So he probably had difficulty selling it because they were like, oh, it's just this again, you know.
Well, yeah,
But to
yeah,
us, it's
Alice
like,
in
wow.
Borderland, which second season is just on, has not been on Netflix not
It's
too
on
long.
my to watch list. Alice in Borderland.
Yeah, that's got a very similar sort of theme. There's Darwin's Game, the anime. You can even take it back to, you could go back to the OG of that sort of genre, which was Battle Royale, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
My favorite like foreign language film of all time.
Oh yeah,
Very
phenomenal, phenomenal. That was I remember that was the film I introduced most of my friends in my hometown to Asian cinema. Check this shit out; it'll blow your fucking mind. You don't even
Amazing.
know films like this exist.
No,
You're
amazing.
like, holy shit! But that's it. Like I say, they're just such a different sort of avenue of filmmaking that I really appreciate. And we're talking about you get a lot of, I'm going to call it shovelware on Netflix. It's the same sort of thing you see on the Nintendo eShop. So there might be 86,000 games, but 85,000 and a half of them are absolute shit that I wouldn't worth,
Yep.
on my worst enemy. But those gems make it all worthwhile. So yeah, there might be a lot of fucking shit, but Knives Out was glorious. You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
And the glass
as
onion.
Yeah,
yeah,
good
as much
opinion
as
as
I'm
well.
gonna give fucking Netflix shit for cancelling stuff, the fact that they made Sandman, which is, I'm gonna spew about until we do our own fucking topic on it.
Yeah.
Is one of my favourite things of all time, and it's long been said to be unfilmable. And not only did they do it, they did it to a point where I genuinely don't think you could have done it better.
Yep,
Like,
another great
yeah,
adaptation. Another great adaptation.
I mean, like Lock and Key, they did a phenomenal job with Lock and Key as well. I like the fact that Netflix's superhero or comic book adaptations aren't superhero stuff. They're other things, They're
Yeah,
sort of. Go on.
showing comics in a greater medium than just they're superhero books.
Well, yeah, because I think that's the thing. A lot of people misjudge. The same people, like, people think of anime and they just think fights and porny stuff, and it's like, no, anime's a medium. You know what I mean? It's the same as TV. It's like saying all fucking TV is like reality television and fucking free porn. If only. Um, it, it's just a huge genre, medium open. That's got tales from sort of every conceivable thing.
Perfect Blue, if anyone is listening, is an incredible anime. It's a psychological horror, but it's really good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
fucking ruin your life that well. Ruin your life. Like a crazy film, man. Crazy film. There's
No
a story
porn,
I'd love
no
to tell about.
violence, just a
Yeah,
fucked up story.
yeah, there's a story I'd love to tell about watching that film, but I can't do it live. So,
Yeah.
I'd say
yeah.
one thing I will say, one thing I am pleased in 2023, we live in a world where cancel culture exists. People want to put limitations on what you can say, what you can do, what you can view. See how I rhymed there.
You're a poet and you
Poet.
didn't know it.
I like the fact that you've got like Netflix, and the same with like Spotify as well. Just to go off of video streaming and go onto audio streaming. Like they stand behind their content creators. Like the whole controversy with Dave Chappelle, with Ricky Gervais on Spotify with Joe Rogan, and they're like, you know, people come out of the woodwork and they're like, no, we feel triggered by this content, whatever the content may be, however you feel about the content yourself personally, but these people are, are triggered by it and they want it removed. And they stood firm and was like, no, our content is and always will be, like our creators free to create how they wish to create. We're not going to impose and turn around to Dave Chappelle and say, no, you can't say these jokes, or if you want, or we will remove parts of your special. It's like, no, we'll show it as entirety. Same as Ricky Gervais, same as the Joe Rogan podcast. And I like that, because at the end of the day, I'm very much a believer in, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to listen to it. Yes, it's there, but don't watch the Dave Chappelle special. Don't listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. If you don't listen to it, it can't trigger you.
No, exactly. By the way, if anyone wants to send any hate mail our way, send it to messages@wedon'tgivashit.com.
I thought you were going to give out my email address, and I'm like, hang on a minute, fuck off.
No, I'm going to give out your phone number,
Oh,
TJ.
yeah, thanks. It's 0800 Brian Blessed.
Yeah, streaming services in general, though, they've taken over not just video; it's every aspect of your life. Like, I can't imagine buying an album. I can't imagine listening to music on any other medium other than Spotify or YouTube ever again for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Now, question, both of you, being that we're talking about streaming service and how it's changed everything. How many CDs you got, boys?
None
anymore. None.
I used to have an extensive DVD collection. DVD collection. DVD collection. I had a extensive over 1,000 DVDs. I own none. I own
all
none.
my DVDs are gone.
I now
you got any,
own.
Rich?
Go on, Rich.
The only Jay, I'll tell you, you probably already figured it out. I'm quite snobby in terms of my entertainment and the medium I'll consume. So I had a Blu-ray collection it was like 500-600 strong. Not the biggest one, but it was very select. It was all like special editions of
Steel
really cool
books and
shit,
stuff.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking, but whole box sets of like The Sopranos and
Yeah.
things like that. Breaking Bad, that sort of shit. And yeah, not a one, not a
Yeah.
one. In
I
fact, the only physical medium I will ever make a point of still owning are books.
Yeah, fair
Like
enough.
everything else can fuck off.
I,
Like,
I don't have games. I don't have disc space because I no
Oh,
longer have my PS4. I've never. I know like a lot of people like keeping their retro consoles. I never kept my retro consoles. Always got rid of them, traded them in to get money towards other things and bits and pieces. Because to me they just gather dust. And I've never been
yeah.
someone who is like who looks at the monetary value thereafter after I've bought it. Like
Yeah.
I have my pop vinyls here. People
Yeah.
complain. People come into my streams and say, "Oh my god, you've unboxed it. It's going to be worth nothing." I'm like, well, I don't care. I didn't buy it as an investment. I
yeah,
bought it to look at and go, wow. Same as my Lego. I didn't buy it to leave it in the box. I bought it to build it and enjoy it. And I'm not planning on selling it. And the same with like the consoles. I was like, I'm not just going to stick them up in the loft. I'd rather sell them.
Ignore the unfinished Lego behind me. Ignore that.
I
Ignore
yeah, and so like even like with games, I now have a discless PS5 and a PC that doesn't have a disc drive. So I don't even like I don't have anything in that sense.
that.
You know?
But thing is, it becomes my point being is it all becomes clutter.
Yeah.
And like, trust me, I know about clutter. Just
Oh,
look behind
mate,
me.
yeah, yeah, trust me. You don't want to see in
But-
this room. I'll let you see a select amount of this room. What's going on over there? No one needs to see.
Nobody needs to see the man behind the curtain. So I think there came a point in our house anyway, with me and my wife, is this big bookcase. It was full of DVDs and CDs and books, and not even like good books, just like cooking books and all that shit. And I think she just looked at it one day and goes, "It's all going to go in the bin." And I went, "Oh, but," and I started to
Yeah.
protest, and I was like, "No," because like I need this Foo Fighters album because it reminds me. Because when was the last time you listened to it? And
On Spotify.
I listened to it on my PC a while back because it came in the loo. The CD. Well, I actually haven't got any way to play the CD anymore.
Right.
Oh, shit. And then I lost all my DVDs and CDs because the argument was null and void, and the wife.
I'll tell you what would be interesting actually, and how we can pull this back round here, back into the streaming services. Exactly
I
what
like it.
you've just said, right? Okay, so at the moment, our sources of watching not TV series, but films. So
Yeah.
cinema to DVD to streaming service. Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
buys the rights to show it. Well, the DVD section is dying.
Yeah.
Like that's going. So it's cinema, and this brings it back to the previous week where we spoke about it. Like with that going, is the next iteration just going to be like so? All having hard copies is just that's not a thing anymore. It's null and void. Like it is literally going to be go to the cinema or stream it at home.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any hard copy. DVD players are going to be like in a museum. Back in the day, this is what they used to consume media. Like,
Dude, as you pointed out, I think last week, is more and more people have got 65, 85, 105 inch TVs, projectors that project in 4K, projectors that do 4K surround sound,
Yeah.
8.1 surround sound, 9.1 surround, whatever it's at. It's at some number, 0.1 surround sound. So when, like, no wonder cinema's dying because we're getting to such a lazy point bringing it to streaming that I don't even, if it's not a big blockbuster movie or
Yeah.
something that has been sold to my mind as I need to see this, then I'm like, it'll be on Netflix in about 3 months.
Yeah.
And I say Netflix as the grander, it'll be streaming somewhere in 3 months because it will be. And I'll go, I already pay £8 a month to watch Prime. It's on there. It'll be on there for a week. I'll just sit down with the wife. I'll just crack it out because I don't even miss not seeing it at the cinema. Like there was a time when you'd go and watch a random movie on a Thursday afternoon because you had fuck all else, and you heard that from your mate Bob down the pub that it ain't bad. I mean, it's a bit graphic. You see a bird's tits. You know what I mean? But like now, all that's gone. It's just like, did you watch that thing on Netflix? Nah, I watched 15 minutes of it, and it didn't, didn't grip me. So I just turned it off and watched Rick and Morty again. So it's just
Ruthless with the amount of somewhat legendary against like amongst most of the people I know. Like I am absolutely ruthless in terms of what I expect from my entertainment these days because I've got so much of it at my fucking fingertips. Like anime gets 3 episodes to wow me. If I'm on my phone by the end of the 3rd episode, it's gone. I don't give a fuck how good you're telling me it is. If it doesn't grab me by the 3rd, if it's an hour-long live action show, you've got 1. If like I have that little free time and there's so much entertainment, I'm not going to spend it entertaining mediocre shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's
But is there
there's so much,
sorry, go
isn't
on.
there? I was to say there is so
Yeah.
much. You don't like you can't physically watch everything, so you kind of have to be a little bit ruthless in what you are going to give your time to nowadays. Like you say, back when we were young, it's 4 channels, then a 5th channel, and it's like okay, you don't really have much choice. It's watch what's on, and no doubt we watched a lot of repeats and shit, and a lot of like films that you'd already seen before and stuff. But there's so much more now that streaming has given us that it's like you're spoiled for choice. You're like the kid in the candy store, and you're like,
Well,
oh, you want it all, but you can't. So you take a little nibble. And it's like, yeah, I don't really like nuts, so I'm going to steer clear of that, and I'm going to go over here to the to the caramel section.
that's it.
Um,
Well, I mean, Back to the Future almost predicted it right. When you see him Back to the Future Part 2 and he goes, channel 18, 31, 28, 16, 18, and the Weather Channel. And
oh,
he
all on
brings
one
up
screen.
all those
Yeah,
screens. And you're just like, well, that'll never be the case. You can't watch all those things. And all you've got now is a similar thing where it's like, oh, I could watch. I do like Jurassic Park, although I've watched it a lot. And you spend almost half the time trying to watch something, as choosing something. You're going,
yeah.
I don't
I have a
know. That
big
looks
issue
like
with
it's
that.
all right, I guess. I'll give it 5 minutes. And then you go and make a tea and come back and go, have I missed anything? Oh, there was something. Nah. I'm just going to have another look. And suddenly you're
Yeah.
back into scrolling
You've
again.
wasted your whole evening not actually watching anything,
Yeah.
just watching the little 30-second like clip of the program on the small tile that they put on the
That's it.
screen, and you're
That's it.
like, nah, not that tonight.
No.
But what?
Oh, it's bedtime. Anyway,
Going in. So obviously, with the streaming services, we know what they offer. Disney have an interesting thing which we have brought up before. Once again, talking about the streaming, and I think this is potentially this is the future of how streaming's going to go in a sense. In the fact of you have your base, $9.99, $6.99, 50 quid a year, whatever the base is, and then Disney do their like £20 one-off payment to watch once, like a massive movie release. So Black Widow,
right? Yeah.
No, I don't think Black Panther was one of it. Black Panther just got released in it, but I know Mulan was one of it. I think 101 Dalmatians might have been a £20 one. I see that as being the next big thing on, like, you're going to see a fight for. Maybe not this year, maybe into next year. You're going to see big films choosing to go rather than at the cinemas. They're going to go direct to, not like I say, not your avatars, the ones that cost $1 billion to make because they'll never make the money back. But your films that, like, it's touch and go whether they're going to make their money back at the cinema. They're going to go, like Netflix are going to go, well, hang on a minute, that's not your only option. We're an option. And HBO Max are going to go, we're an option. HBO Max did it with Godzilla. Godzilla and Kong, didn't it? That didn't get a cinema release. It got released straight to HBO Max.
Wasn't that pandemic?
Yeah, it was. But I see, and Mortal Kombat as well. The new Mortal Kombat got straight to HBO Max.
That's something as well. Like the pandemic, you look at the growth of streaming, and the pandemic in the span of a year moved the growth of the industry where it was supposed to be in like a projected 7 years time.
Yeah.
You know, because
no one could go out.
Well, yeah, it effectively removed that. You're talking about the different options of fucking, watching stuff these days. Well, as we said, DVDs basically dying. Fucking, the cinema was just null and void. You know, it just closed. You just couldn't go even if you fucking wanted to. So you only had streaming services. So even my nan had Netflix. You know what I mean?
Is it tinfoil hat time? Is that what we're saying? We're moving into the big
No,
streaming conspiracy.
no, because I don't want to get cancelled.
No, but it's just, as you say, like streaming's a lot bigger because of. I'm not saying it, you know, it fucking Netflix caused it or any shit like that, but they were definitely an industry that were in a prime position to be able to take advantage. To man, no one can leave the house anymore. Well,
That's it.
here you go. Here's some shit.
But on the
Here's
flip
content. Not
side,
only that, but it's not new content. You can watch old content.
but on the flip side of that, so they have a projection of like you say, 7 years that they hit in a year because of this global pandemic. No one can leave the house. But then you get the downturn on that, which is when people can leave the house again. Like,
Yeah.
sure, that has a knock-on effect, and I think that's what's also one of the things that's led into this password sharing thing, because so many people, like Netflix, are taking a hit. Like I say, other streaming services have come out that are offering very good content. It's not like it's not like a Shutter or something like that, which is like just a horror based, and it's all 90% is low budget stuff on there. Like, we've actually got real competitors in like HBO Max and Disney Plus
that's it.
for Netflix.
Netflix were king, weren't they? Netflix
Yeah.
were king, and now they've got people
And
challenging the throne.
so people putting out their own content or buying other big IPs to show on their streaming service, and obviously that coupled with the fact that the pandemic is in a sense over in terms of the lockdowns and everything, so people are going out and like touching grass a little bit more.
Not loads more though.
Not loads more, no.
Loads
But a lot
more.
of people need to touch a lot more grass.
Yeah, I agree.
Just not while I'm
Into
cutting
the
it.
sky outside, not the one on the screen. Outside.
So I think this is what's led them to the like, oh crap, we're losing market share and we're losing finance, we're losing money big time. And Netflix have always pumped a lot of money into stuff, and I think like hand over fist handed money over and not got good returns, which is what I was trying to get at with the shit that they actually pump out their big money to. It never gets them a return because it just stuns so poorly. I think whoever the creative director is at Netflix, who's greenlighting a lot of this stuff, maybe needs to be fired, and they bring someone else who's a little bit smarter in. But
This is where we cut to a monkey with a typewriter behind the door.
exactly. But I kind of feel like this is why they're going. We need to. We'll crack down on the password sharing. But like I say, I can't see how that's gonna benefit them, because I just feel HBO Max, Disney, Prime, whoever are just sitting there going, right, we're just gonna wait and see how this plays out for Netflix, because we are gonna scoop up all of the people that walk away from Netflix when they turn around and go, we're not doing this, we're not paying you more money to do what we've been doing, which is give my password to my nan. And Disney will just go, we don't have limitations on password sharing. And all they will do, they'll do it in a really snide way, because I think what Netflix also did, which was shoot themselves in the foot, is they go, premium, look at this amazing premium service we're going to offer you with 5 accounts you can have. So a family of 5, 2 adults, 3 kids, you can all have your own account and you can watch 4 things simultaneously at once. That's where they fucked up, because by giving people 4 things to watch simultaneously at once, you were like, well, let's be honest. So probably only 2 people are going to be watching different things on Netflix at the same time, because husband and wife are probably watching the same thing. Maybe one of the kids. The other kids might be doing other things. They might be too young. So we've got 2 accounts that can watch stuff at the same. We might as well give them to our friends, our family.
You buy Disney, you buy Amazon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Like, and I just sorry, I was just gonna quickly think. Like, I just feel that Netflix shot themselves in their foot by their business model, which they thought was a great business model, but ultimately gave people free reign to do this, to give passwords out to people and make it a thing. If they turned around and just said you can only stream 2 things consecutively, no matter what like package you've got, like, well, if me and my wife want to watch something different, then I can't give my password out to anyone else, or me and my daughter want to watch something, because no one else can watch it anyway, and I'm not letting someone else watch it when I want to watch it.
Yeah,
so all they had to do was like rein their own rules in a little bit, rein their own like things in, and this wouldn't be an issue now for them, I don't think.
Oh, I mean, the thing is that, like you say, they felt the sting of, like, because they had so many hours watched in there. That's how streaming services work their way. It's like, but we've got 10,000 million hours watched a stream of Stranger Things, and then someone back in the office goes, let me just look at the numbers. So this would mean that everyone in our entire streaming service, that say it's one per household, watched Stranger Things 8 times in a day. That's not
Yeah,
even.
yeah.
This is nonsense. What are you on about? But and like, don't get me wrong, because everything corporations like that controlled by the market, the shareholders, and when they start going like, well, I don't think I got as much money as I should have got. Then they go, well, let me see the numbers, and then they get their people to look at the numbers. I mean, normally these people are quite well off, so they've got their own number people, and then they pull up discrepancies. Whereas I think Disney and Amazon as the underdogs in this, although Amazon's not an underdog to anything, is that they're going like, well, I'm going to watch what Netflix do to fall because they're going to fall because that's inevitability, and then we just don't do that. Also, like I say, Prime have got something in their back pocket all the time, and they go, "But you want them free deliveries, don't you? Next day,
they've got two because they've got the music service as well.
And photos, so you can store your photos up to the cloud.
Audible, which I know Audible's a separate thing, but they could always, to gain even more market share, pull Audible into it.
Yeah, that's it. They got Twitch. Do they own Twitch?
Twitch is Amazon, yeah.
Twitch is Amazon as well.
Because you get the Prime, don't you? If you're a Prime member, you also get Prime
you get the free
subs.
Prime. So Amazon don't worry. Like Amazon, almost you can just cut out because they're going, well, they're going to do their own thing anyway because they could lose everyone from their streaming service, still have enough money to fund it because everyone pays for the deliveries. Either they pay for them or they pay the Prime.
I kind of feel like where Amazon are concerned, the streaming services, streaming and like Twitch and like the movie streaming TV series is the lowest rung on their actual like subscription service ladder. Like that's the thing they care the least about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like
100%.
it mostly comes in for delivery and probably music because they're the two things that most people, because of the way Amazon set out their thing with it, a lot of it being locked behind different paywalls. It's like it's not conducive to it being the mainstay for them. The delivery and the music is, I think.
Yet you say that, and just to tie this back to The Last of Us, isn't it Amazon that have bought Fallout as a TV series, God of War as a TV series? What was the other one? Someone's bought BioShock.
But is that just buying the rights just so that like they've seen the success of certain things? Doesn't necessarily, are they definitely going to get made, or is it just going, hang on a minute, if
Fallout's in production?
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay.
I hear BioShock's in production, but I'm not sure if that's Amazon. And they bought God of War, but that's in script writing and.
Because wasn't there a thing about like Christopher Judge not actually getting the role? They were talking about, was it Dave Bautista getting the role as Kratos?
There was a big thing about don't let it be Chris Pratt.
Well, obviously, fucking Chris Pratt, have a laugh. But yeah.
So I mean, Rich, you got any insight into that?
I've heard fuck all, to be honest with you. I know there was a lot of hoo-ha with people saying Christopher Judge couldn't play Kratos because he was black, and I'm just like, you're all a bunch of fucking idiots.
He's stupid. He is Kratos.
He is Kratos. It's ridiculous. What difference does fucking that make?
No, it doesn't make any difference. Just fucking. Didn't Idris Elba just come out and say like he doesn't want to refer to himself as a black actor anymore? He doesn't want to put himself in a box or something.
Well, he's an actor. Like I don't get it. I don't get like, he's an actor. There is no difference between him and Brad Pitt. They're both actors. They both do the exact same thing. Like, why does one have to be differentiated by like the color of his skin? He's just an actor.
The sadness of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, but I was happy to see that because I remember it reminded me of something that I heard Morgan Freeman said. It's like you'll only get rid of racism by stop putting everybody in boxes or something like that.
Yeah.
Great. Sorry.
True story.
Yeah, true story. Just like I say, so I mean, just anyway, we're going a little bit off topic, a little bit, but yeah, it's just with streaming services. I think what we're finding. I wanted to say this a while back is you are merging the line now of film and TV, because it used to be that you'd go like, oh, that's a film actor, it's a TV actor, and there was a distinct line between. But now with streaming services, I don't think it's just been streaming.
It's
services.
money. It's money
Yeah.
is what it is. It's money.
I suppose you could bring it all the way back to Friends if you really wanted to, when they started getting paid £1 million an episode. That someone went, oh,
Really, if you want to talk about the huge transition between film and TV, the show I literally can pinpoint the exact show where it changed from being film and TV, dictating how good an actor you were. First season of True Detective, you had Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, who were traditionally leading man fucking film stars that took part in this TV show. And I would actually argue, like going back to what I was saying earlier, I'd argue that was the show that kind of kicked off the golden age of TV.
I'd have to try and remember what year that was.
I can't remember like what came before or around the same time.
I mean, I was a big fan of Lost, as was Rich.
But then Lost, what he's getting at
is
is Lost didn't have any like A-list actors, did it? They're all up and coming.
I
know you've got your like Evangeline Lilly and that have come out of it and whatnot, but they weren't household names like Woody Harrelson, Matthew McConaughey were. Well,
their biggest actor would have been probably Dominic
Monaghan,
because he was one of the Hobbits.
One of Pip or Merry.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, obviously you've always had guest stars. Bruce Willis was in an episode of Friends.
Brad Pitt, yeah,
Brad Pitt was. But like Rich says, I don't think it was until like you saw Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey actually being in a TV show that's going to run 9 episodes. I mean, that was also a TV show that didn't have any prospect of having a season 2. That was just, no, you're going to do these 9 and bam, see ya.
Yeah.
Ultimately worthy of having stars of that caliber. There was no difference in terms of the quality of the writing and the cinematography, because it's the same sort of thing you tend to see with, like, I know I always keep going back to fucking anime, but anime films is that anime films always look 100% better than the TV shows did. 100% just for budgetary reasons. When once TV started being, like I say, once you started having like the Wires, your Luthers, the the Shield, Breaking Bad, fucking serious money started getting thrown at TV, and they were able to hire, you look at fucking Game of Thrones, the first season of Game of Thrones, its horse budget was like 8 digits long. Do you know what I mean?
But no one in that, like going back to your point, no one in that was a household name before. People like Jason Momoa, people weren't like, Jason Momoa, Aquaman. No, he wasn't Aquaman. Like Khal Drogo made him. That's what, like, him, the guy from Game of Thrones. It's
Jon Snow, same thing.
Yeah, with Kit, yeah.
Yeah, the other one,
Clark, Daenerys.
Emilia Clarke. I mean, I suppose the biggest name that you would say that was probably in that was previous, and I didn't even realise it was in, was it Jerome? Was it from?
Oh, Robson Jerome Flynn.
Yeah, was it Jerome? It was
Jerome. It was Jerome Flynn. Yeah, who played Thingy's bodyguard, Bron. That's it, Bron. Yeah.
Bron was like the fucking man.
It was awesome.
As well.
It was awesome. He was quality.
There's no.
It was such a great him and Peter Dinklage, him and Tyrion Lannister's like partnership was quality. It was like such a great pairing to put together.
That's like to something you were saying like ages ago was I honestly think I definitely think they kind of went hand in hand, but I think the fact that television had proved itself that it is actually capable of being on the same fucking stage, like if anything I'd argue it's on a better stage, because in these days, like going back to what we were talking about last week and cinema and it basically being the Marvel universe, you go to the cinema these days just purely for your dumb spectacle in terms of your driven drama and your intelligent storytelling. It's television all the way, because it just destroys it.
Well,
there's very few films that you can point to that offer the layers of complexity in terms of like narrative and how your narrative's told and what you expect from a narrative as the first season of Westworld. That is in my mind, that's one of the greatest things ever put on any screen.
I
You
was gonna say,
can't. You
did you?
don't have the time in 120 minutes. You don't have the time to get that same point across that you
No.
do in 10 episodes. You know,
Yeah.
you can flush out stories so much better, and that's I think that's the thing. That's why, like we were saying a few weeks ago about like 24 episodes too long. There's that
Yeah.
sweet number, and also with films, and this is why I think you're also seeing films becoming longer and longer. Like films were like 90 minutes. It was a staple, 90 minutes.
Oh, what a
Now,
glorious time!
now
90 minutes.
films are at least 2 hours, if not longer, and you're like,
Yeah.
because they need to flush out the story more, so they need that time to flush that out, because you can't just go start, middle, end, boom, done, and not everyone, you need to flush stuff out. There's too much going on, that with the time frame and the time constraints they have in movies, and that's another reason why TV works so well. I think they found that happy medium on how to tell stories, how to get like really in depth in the without going like too much into the weeds, too much filler, too much fluff. Like it's just like we can move this along at a really steady pace and keep you captivated for 10 episodes, like with The Witcher and stuff like that, Game of
Well,
Thrones.
here's one for you. Like, nobody fucking hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. That's like
Yeah.
a universal truth. I've never met. There's very few fandoms that are as internally toxic as Star Wars fans. However, one universal truth from every single person that enjoys anything set in a galaxy a long time ago, far, far away,
Yeah.
is that The Mandalorian is fucking bad as hell. Everybody loves The Mandalorian, and it was really fascinating to see. Like, I've always openly mocked pretty much anything to do with Star Wars, because the second it comes out, half the fandom thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, and half the fandom hate anybody that can even entertain it. Being a passable form of entertainment. No, there was nothing. Everyone with The Mandalorian was like, "Yo, this shit's dope as hell, man."
Yep. I mean, the thing is, don't get me wrong, even that had its haters, because you can't please 100% of people 100% of the time,
Oh no,
especially
no,
not
not
Star
at
Wars
all. I mean,
fucking
the,
fans.
the the
Jesus
first
Christ.
season in particular, I didn't actually think was as good as everybody else did, because I think it was like we spoke about in terms of the game. The Last Jedi game. I actually that did really, really well, and I think if you take the license away from it, it was a mediocre game at best. It was just the fact that it used the license well that really sold it. And I
Yeah.
think the first season of The Mandalorian, in terms of actual television, I don't think it was anything very special. Like, within 30 seconds of every episode starting, you could tell the entire plot of the episode. 90% of it was all very. It was indistinguishable, with the exception of the license. It was indistinguishable from Firefly. Do you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Oh.
And then go on.
But what I liked about it, for me, it felt like, the director, the script writer was going like, look, I've got all these Star Wars toys.
Well, it was
I want to
authentically
do
Star
this.
Wars. It
You're
was
sorry.
authentically Star Wars, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
felt like, even though it wasn't, there wasn't a great deal in terms of narrative that you hadn't seen a million and one times before. It felt. It felt in that universe, and it felt more in that universe than all the big budget
So,
options. But
like,
yeah,
so
that was just a streaming service only thing, and something that unites such a divisive fandom. I think was a really, really, like, I wouldn't have put the new Disney fucking streaming service. I wouldn't have said it had been capable for that. And then the second season just destroyed people.
yeah, yeah. Well, like I say, for me, not to just get too much into the Mandalorian, but like the Mandalorian was, just an outstanding sort of like villain of the week. Like I say, for me, it just felt like um, Favreau and I can't remember the other, Dave, was just sitting there, and they're going, right, this story is, I've got my hero and I got what he's got to
Yeah.
protect, and now he's against these stormtroopers in this situation. It felt like kids were just playing like their own Star Wars adventures, which is what I loved about it. I was like, simple, in, out. You know what the general story is going to be. Who's going to win. That's never
Yeah.
under contention. But like, it's popcorn TV. You're just sitting there going, I know what's going to happen here, but I want to see it happen. I want to see how
Yeah, I
this is
think
going to
I think from what TJ was saying earlier, while there is a lot of shit, you know, the valleys are considerably lower in terms of fucking the level of absolute bollocks that's on streaming services. I do think the peaks are considerably higher. You know, like the shit they get and they get right. It's like it's among some of the best shit you've ever seen, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But like I say, with the money they put behind stuff, like back in the day, you wouldn't got the Mandalorian on. You would have got a Mandalorian film. You wouldn't have got the
Yes.
Mandalorian because there wasn't the money behind it to put it onto TV.
No, that's it.
That's exactly it. I'm really glad some stuff has waited until
Yeah.
you know television has got to that point. Like fucking Sandman. I'm really glad they didn't make a movie 10 years ago. I'm
What-
really, really glad that
I
it took
don't
this
even
long.
think it's the fact that they waited. I just don't think it ever would have been made. Like, do you know,
Yeah.
there are some things that you just like without a streaming service, without a backer that is willing to potentially lose their arse on it as well. Because, like you say, the Sandman, difficult stuff, like the Mandalorian, difficult. You've got like you get it wrong. Like you're going to get heavily criticised for it. So you've got to be prepared to lose your ass. And they haven't got bottomless pits, but they seem to have a hell of a big pile of money to be able to throw around. And so I kind of feel like it's stuff that you would never see made if it wasn't for these streaming services. And that's why I think they're a key thing for moving forward like if we like the losing them and going back to a world it just like that can't
Oh,
happen.
it couldn't happen. It couldn't
couldn't
happen.
happen.
It couldn't happen.
So-
We live in far too much of a microwave society where everything's on demand these
But-
days. You just couldn't do it.
But Netflix, I do believe, without pulling up the numbers, I do believe year on year lose money.
Yes, I have heard that.
So there does have to be a means to an end there as well. Like, how much money can you throw down the toilet before there is no money to throw down the toilet?
Well, that's why you see him cancel so much.
Mm.
Because now, I suspect whoever's come in is going, look, we've got to get this kind of viewership. If it doesn't get this kind of viewership, I don't care how good everyone's saying it is. Unfortunately, the viewership has to equate to cash. And it's this kind of viewers that it needs in order for this to continue. You know, they're not making DVD sales, so something's not coming back on a DVD sale.
Yeah.
This is like, we're going to do one. It's either going to hit the numbers and we do a sequel, or it doesn't hit the numbers. No sequel.
Well, that's
That
the
is
thing where I
gamble,
see.
baby.
I see more films going straight to the streaming services because I think it is a way that they'll be able to subsidize with the Disney Plus model of like, oh, one-off payment. Do you want to watch Fast and Furious 742? Well, you can. Netflix this weekend for 20 quid, and people will pay it. And I think
that. Sorry, Karen.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and I think you're never gonna like I say, you're never gonna get the avatars and stuff because they just can't afford that. But you are going to get those mid-range films that. So like, I'm going to see Puss in Boots tomorrow. I'm going to the cinema. I'm supporting my cinema people. I'm going to watch Puss in Boots with my wife and daughter tomorrow. Like in a few years, that is like it's straight to streaming stuff like that. I think because I just don't see them making mass amounts of money at the cinema to like.
I got to interject here. Everything I've seen of that Puss in Boots looks fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
but I don't see it as. I guarantee. I don't know how long it's been out, but I'm going to go in the cinema tomorrow, and I imagine it's probably. I booked it today, and the cinema there was about 4 seats taken, and like it's a large cinema. So I'm like, okay, we're like doubling the population of people that are going to see this film in this cinema tomorrow at 12:15. You know, and that's why I think like you're going to see these films. They're going to peter out at the cinema. They're going to come, and that's when you get the next wave. I think with streaming services where they are not just their own A-list movies that they're making, or A-tier movies that you want to call it, that they're making. They're actually going to start making big plays to get stuff before it goes to the cinema, like and that's what will be a potential nail in the coffin for the cinema, but also B, it's going to be what pulls in. It's going to make another revenue stream because depending on the film, I think they will get away with being able to do well, you can watch it now with us for 20 quid, or wait, 3 months for us to bring it out down the line. you know. And I think I think that's the next iteration. I think we're going to see the major movies bypass the cinema completely and hit your Netflix, hit your Primes, your HBO Maxes, your Disney Plus, because I think there is a consumer base there that don't want to go to the cinema, don't want to leave their houses, just
I
want to
agree.
sit at home, have a house party, get like the family in, you know, hunch around the sofa, get the duvet, get the popcorn, you know, and have a family movie night. And if you turn around and say, once again, like we were saying, the price of cinema, you go to an Odeon and pay 50 quid to take your family, or you can pay 20 quid and watch it from the comfort of your own home. You haven't got to pay petrol, you know, you haven't got to pay
pause
the
it for a
parking
piss.
and all this other stuff. You can just watch it at home. And people will be like, yeah, okay, I'll do that, and I'll just pay 20 quid and watch it at home.
Well, that sort of ties into the pub, doesn't it? In a manner, like, because when COVID happened, I used to go to the pub and I used to enjoy going to the pub, and you'd see not as many people because smoking took one chunk out of it, and then now everyone, when you go to the pub, you're like, oh no, everyone's all right with drinking at home now, which seems worse for society somehow. So I don't really drink at home anymore. I have, but I don't anymore. Now I only drink when I go out. I only go out twice a week, and I'm like, well, so no one goes out at all. And I just think it's sad that no one's
I th-
leaving the house.
I think the difference there though is obviously like the cinema's not really a social event, is it? You go
No.
with people and stuff, but you don't talk. You don't like the pub is a very much more like you lose human skills, genuine human skills of being able to interact with other people. Like you lose them. Like, and a lot of people say, "Yeah, you're going to the pub." It's like, yeah, I'm. This is how I sell it. I'm like, I am improving my skill set of being able to interact with humans by going to the pub.
Exactly. I need to be able to talk to people in a setting where I'm not
We
talking
will
into
all
either
become
a camera.
yeah. We'll all just become feral animals if we don't go to the pub and consume alcohol with our friends. Okay? So
I
just
need
wives
social life.
wives
I
and
need a
girlfriends,
social life.
let us go to the pub because otherwise we're feral. Okay? We
Exactly.
you know, we can't, you know, just
I
let us go.
can't stay in this much. I just can't. Right, I suppose we should start thinking about wrapping it with final thoughts, to be honest, because we've been rambling for how long, Teach?
Nearly 2 hours.
Yeah, so
5 minutes off.
it's a lengthy. It's a lengthy one. Should probably start thinking about wrapping up.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just going to wait one more mark on that. I do think the problem with streaming services and films going to streaming services, not so much TV shows, but films, is that you get a dilution, as we discussed, where it's not up to the usual standard. But you also see this now, I think personally, with Game Pass in a lot of instances, where you see big name games and then you play them and you go, oh, feels like not AAA, sort of A quality. And I'm like, oh, is this because it was going to go on Game Pass, so they knew that they were going to hit like this kind of fundage for it, hope that it sells on other consoles. But I just wonder, is it just a general dilution because you can't, they're not going to get 70 quid per game and then sell millions, although it's better than the fact that like they fall into the category of obscurity because no one played it because it was 35 quid and 7 other games come out that week, with one of them being a AAA title, and a lot of games fall down the, oh yeah, we came out at the same time as COD, so we're a shooter, they're a shooter, we didn't stand a chance.
Get lost.
Which, yeah, that's it. So it's just an afterthought, really. I was just thinking on it myself, and I was like, oh, it's a shame because you start seeing dilution because everything's streaming and no one's just out and out supporting. The rise of Kickstarter is people sort of want to fight back a little bit and go, I'm going to support this so that I can feel I willed this into existence, which Rich knows a lot about because of the varying Kickstarters for board games and stuff. Which without that's it. So without people like Rich or like myself, and I don't know if you've ever kickstarted something, but you sort of like feel like at least I've willed it into existence. Whereas a lot of times with streaming stuff, it's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted that. I guess I'll watch it, play it, etc., etc. So
The problem in unlimited options at your fingertips is it kind of cheapens everything. It's very different turning on Game Pass or Netflix or something and flicking through thousands of fucking titles at your fingertips to I've just bought this one thing with my 70 quid that I'm coming in specifically to play. So it is. I do sort of agree that having all these options makes everything feel a little less sort of special until you
Yeah.
find that thing. But in terms of like my opinion, like I have a strange sort of viewpoints on streaming services because, as I say, I only really use the one, and in terms of like for anime, like things are really fucking good. I only have to pay for one streaming service these days. Pretty much all of the big fucking titles are now just on, straight on Crunchyroll. It does a really fantastic job of the second, literally within 30 seconds of something airing in Japan, it's on there, subtitled for me to watch, which is just fucking absolutely extraordinary. And for years and years and years of actually having to, anime was very difficult to actually watch legally. That everybody used to use things like Kiss Anime and stuff like that because it was the only way to watch stuff. So I really like the idea that I've got an easy sort of
Legal.
options sort of be well, yeah, it's easy, it's hassle free. It doesn't involve me jumping through loads of fucking hoops, and as I say, like I feel like I'm contributing and supporting something I enjoy. So I'm yeah, in terms of like anime streaming. But then the rest of them, as I say, like if I can't use Netflix anymore, then I won't have Netflix anymore, and I don't watch enough for that to really impact my life, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. TJ?
Okay, so I want to just go on a different thing for the final thought. I want to go back to the potential changes that we're going to see over the rest of this year, with the news of Netflix and obviously their password sharing, and I think we could see a big sea change within the stratosphere of streaming services because of this. I feel that this could have a knock-on effect if Netflix follow through with this and
Yeah.
it starts becoming something exorbitant, like you pay £15 for your premium service and then another £7 on top to do. I just think it's it's going to be interesting to see the fallout from it, because I see a lot of people leaving Netflix. I see a lot of people moving elsewhere, and I think it's going to reset the balance a little bit. Like we're saying, Netflix still, I kind of feel, has not the monopoly, but they have the larger viewer base for sure.
Yeah.
And I just feel it's going to be interesting to see, and I feel that like how this is going to turn out. Like I say, in the next 9 to 12 months is going to be really interesting, because I could also see some of the smaller players fading out as well, because I feel one thing we haven't touched on is how expensive cost of living is becoming, like with mortgage, with electric, gas, water. We've just found out water's going up potentially by 7%. Your council tax is going up. Food in general is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to start scaling back on their luxuries. And streaming services, having multiple streaming services, is 100% a luxury. So I think the landscape is potentially going to change, because it's an untenable situation to keep going as we are with everything. And if Netflix do crank up that price, and they're already the most expensive at $15.99 for the premium, I kind of feel that with them losing a hell of a lot of subscribers, they're gonna have to have a major rethink. I feel it will also like embolden some of the others, like your Disney's, your HBO, when HBO enters the UK market, to try and take over that lion's share. And I think there's going to be a wrestling match between the two. I think Netflix will end up scaling back some of their things. Like I said, I think they're giving out like 4 consecutive streams at one time. They're an idiot for doing that. They've created this monster for themselves that they need to rein back in. If they'd just done it with 2, they wouldn't have this problem now. And I think that's what's going to lead to them making a play. Perhaps Netflix first, making the play for big movies on a scale of like cinema, to try and.
Well, they have just recently released Glass Onion to the cinema. It was
it
was a select release, but
they didn't charge extra for it. It was I see this is where it's going to go in the okay, well, don't go to the we'll make a play and we'll do what Disney have kind of set the wheels in motion a little bit, I think, for others to follow. And I see I think in the next 9 to 12 months, that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see the landscape change a lot, and it's going to be a lot due to the world's economic crisis, because we're not the only country that's suffering at the moment. America has a financial issue going on with them, as well as other countries due to whatever else is going on in the world. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because I don't see how they all survive, especially the little ones, and B, how they continue making the content they're making for the amount of money they're spending, because I don't see them getting it back.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think we might just see a slight change in their business models, and and I think you'll see the potential play for big content that would go straight to the cinema. I say not your avatars, your $1 billion franchises, because they can't afford it. But your other next rung down, your next rung down of films. Maybe the next James Bond film, for instance. Like, you'll see Netflix make a play to get it, and they'll just charge you a one-off fee to watch it first. And I think it's going to be an interesting time, because I think there's going to be a lot of changes ahead, and I think there's some possible pain for some of these services coming down the road.
Now, just on, I know we should be ending now, but are we going to see somebody start swallowing up somebody else? I mean,
if anyone, it'll be
like
Disney
Amazon
buying someone.
Yeah,
I see.
I
don't
Disney
think Amazon are.
a tweet for Netflix.
Well, I don't think Amazon are in the position to do it, because, like I say, Amazon, their streaming service, I think, is on the bottom rung of their. And I don't think Amazon are really too fussed by it. They're not bothered by Twitch. We can tell that by how little they actually give a shit about Twitch. Being a Twitch streamer myself, and you'd know that as well, Jay. And just the way they run Prime Video, it's just not conducive for them to be like. They're not taking any share, let's be honest, because 90% of it's behind paywalls. So, I think Disney have already made big plays in a sense with buying like the Star Wars franchise and that. And it wouldn't surprise me to see like Disney. I don't think they'll make a play for Netflix. I think Netflix is too big. I think Netflix, the amount of money needed to buy Netflix would be a lot. But it wouldn't surprise me if they bought up like stuff like Stars and that is on Prime. Smaller ones like that. They give it up. Paramount Plus. They make a play for something like that. Or even do like maybe a joint venture between, say, HBO Max and Disney join forces, and you could get both. Like a Disney Max or like HBO Disney or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, it's like I say, I think it's going to be an interesting 12 months for the landscape of streaming.
Yeah, I think we probably see some titans, maybe not fall, but I can definitely, like you say, I can see Netflix probably taking a market share dip.
I don't think it's going to affect us. I just wanted to point out, I don't think it's going to affect us necessarily over these next 12 months. It's going to be behind the scenes within those companies. I think our next 12 months is just going to be like, obviously there might be some price fluctuations that will make changes to whether or not we watch it, but the content that we see over these next 12 months, I don't think we're going to see much change in that. I think they're pretty much slated. I would imagine they slate stuff very far in advance, but I think it's what's going to have a knock-on effect for them, like in 9 months, like stuff they're going to put in place now, and then what's going to happen in 9 months because of it, because obviously you have to wait and see out how things are assessed and how things are taken moving forward.
Well, that's it. I mean, it'll probably mean more cancellations. It'll mean stuff that comes out that gets a mediocre, that might pick up steam in a next year when a second season comes out. Now won't get a chance. They'll just go, no, didn't really hit it. I mean, I love Westworld, and even Westworld over at HBO Max hasn't got a second season because it's so expensive.
It's so expensive, and they don't make their money back.
Westworld got 4.
Oh, did it get 4?
Yeah, Westworld got season.
Yeah, but like they had 5 seasons, and that's what they wanted to do to tell their entire story, and they just couldn't stump up the money for the last season. So where the story ended was incomplete, which is always a shame.
Well, it got a real shit panning because season 3 I didn't think was any good, to be fair.
I didn't mind season 3. I like the idea of the orb being able to predict the future. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, season, like, I feel there was diminishing returns. I feel like season 1 is one of the best seasons of TV that has ever and will ever be produced.
Yep.
And then I didn't think season 2 was quite as good. I didn't think season 3 was quite as good as that. But then I thought season 4 was virtually as good as the first.
Yeah,
I can't think of the guy's name that I keep thinking of in season 1 of Westworld. He's the creator guy. He plays Felix Leiter in the James Bond films.
What's his fucking name?
I can't think of his name.
Who are we on about? Which one?
In the first series of Westworld, he's like the head like engineer creator dude, isn't he? Like the
Oh, Anthony Hopkins.
No, not Anthony Hopkins. No.
No, the guy Bernard.
Bernard. Yes. But I
Yes.
can't think who plays him.
New Gordon, who in Batman is
Yes,
the Gordon.
yeah.
Gordon.
I feel like there are just so many unsung performances in that series in season 1, and he is one of them. I thought he was amazing. But people look at like Ed Harris and everything, and they're like, "Sorry, Rich."
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. There you go. I feel like if you look at it as an ensemble cast in that, like so many standout performances, so many really, really top draw performances that unfortunately I think some fall by the wayside because you pick what a performance by that guy, even though that guy had a great performance, but you kind of you can't. You know what I mean? You're just you're focused that much on this that you don't realise how great that actually performance was. And I feel that was what made Westworld so great. It's just, it was
the actual Olympics.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Harris is phenomenal in that as well. Ed Harris was.
Ed Harris was great. The Man in Black. Just you're like, right, the Yul Brynner character, which is phenomenal.
Really, really. I mean, again, we're digressing.
I know we're going back off on a tangent.
We're trying to end the show. So,
right, guys. So I think we're best to just call it there. We will be back, obviously, next week. We will be doing another subject, which we're probably going to discuss off air because we don't know what it is.
And The Last of Us episode 5.
And The Last of Us episode 5, of course, which we'll be catching up on probably tomorrow for some of us. I might catch up on about Wednesday, Tuesday next week. Anyway. So, that's enough of my chitter-chatter. Thank you for joining us for Opinions of the Uninformed. I, of course, been Jay, which is Firefly0 over on Twitch. I've been joined by, of course, TJ.
Yeah, you can find me over Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at The Proper TJ, and on Twitch at The Proper TJ. I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 on a Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. on a Friday UK time. Thank you.
And Rich.
Yep, LiveConvoy on Instagram, and if bloody Jay's ever online playing Apex, I'm usually in tow somewhere.
I am. So, thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Guys, thank you for chatting with me. And that's been it. That's been our show. I'll catch you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. Taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't never. So let me break it all down for you. I ain't never giving up, I ain't never giving up. I'm taking that crown from you. I ain't worried about you, I ain't here to make